Hi, welcome to ArtC. I'm your host, Bill Horan. And my guests today are world champion sand sculptors John and Laura Gowdy. And recently, this past week, they built a sand sculpture in their backyard that is going viral. It's been on social media for a while, and we'll talk about that today, among other things. So John and Laura, welcome to ArtC.
Thank you.
Good to be here, Bill.
This isn't quite how I expected our visit the next time I saw you guys to be. I was hoping it would be over a glass of wine and sitting in person, but this is the reality of what's happening now. And part of your way of dealing with that is to create a sand sculpture in your backyard. And what was the inspiration for that, Laura?
You know, I come from Italy, and right now my country is pretty hit by this coronavirus. And in the beginning, we kind of underestimated the power of this virus, and then people started getting sick. They were like hundreds, and then they became thousands, and then they started dying, and then the numbers were incredible. And like today, that we are early April, there are like 15,000 people who already died
in the Veneto area.
in the whole country. 15,000 people, they lost their life.
But your
so
area
far.
got hit hard, right?
Yeah, my area got pretty bad. I come from Venice. My sister lives in Milan. In the middle there is Bergamo. That is the town that lost the most number of people, and. It was strange that, I heard on the news that a whole generation of grandparents is gone. And that hit me badly. It's like we say that when an old person dies, it's like a library that is gone. A whole generation of grandparents, it's heartbreaking. And I couldn't stop thinking about that. And Another thing that it was really upsetting me and John is that unfortunately when you are sick from coronavirus and you are almost at the end of your life, there is no way you can get in touch personally with the family member. You have to die alone. And this picture that was viral of this nurse holding my country, and then we turned into a different, picture, like the whole world, was like for us the symbol of this healthcare worker who was is the last person you see before you depart. So I said to John, we need to do something. We need to thank these people because they are the last one who's seen our dearest one. It could be my parents, could be anyone, friends, or anybody, husband, daughter, son.
It's a beautiful piece of work, and even when I posted it just promoting the show today, it went through the roof. I mean, it's amazing the reaction to that piece of work. John, technically, where did the sand come from, first of all? This is in your backyard. I know you have to use special sand when you do this.
Yeah, I have a personal sandbox in my backyard. It's my in-ground pool that wasn't used. My children grew up and moved away, and I decided to fill it with sand. And I do a lot of jobs locally, and when I get the sand from Tuckahoe Sand and Gravel, it's a special kind of sand that has a little bit of clay in it. So it's a powerful sand or sticky sand. And I filled my pool with it, and that's my personal sandbox, and that's where I got it from. It's nice to work at home for a change.
How long did it take you to do this, or to do both versions, actually?
Well, Laura and we did the pound up one day, and maybe 2 more days, so a total of like 3 days. As Laura said, we did change it, so maybe 4 days in total to the final world sculpture, but we did the Italian sculpture probably in 3 days.
Was the world version part of your initial plan, or did you just decide afterward to add that?
No, again, that was Laura's the brains behind this outfit. Okay, she wanted to do the Italy thing, and I said, well, we have time. I was doing gardening work, and so I said, okay, let's do it. We'll get some air and work together on it. And I drew up a quick sketch on that, and then we did the Italian sculpture. And, it got a lot of play, especially in Italy with all her parents and friends. But then I got some feedback on my hometown friends and family and workers here who said that we were suffering, we're going to be suffering just as much as Italy. Hopefully not, but it sure looks that way. But they were saying, well, what about United States? Well, what about New Jersey first and New York? And I said, well, what about Louisiana and,
rest of the world.
Spain? And
Yeah.
I said that, this is a world thing. This is a world pandemic. And so I turned to Laura, and Laura, he said, I think maybe you said it first. I don't know. Let's do the world. We'll change it to the world. And since we had the photos of Italy, that job was done. So we took out Italy and put the world in the healthcare's arms. So that worked out well.
Laura, were you surprised by the attention it got on social media? Was that even more than you expected?
Well, it really was a surprise, and the feeling I had is that we are sharing the same concern. We are grateful to the people, the health workers. We are in their hands, and everybody's feeling the same way. We got people that thank us from Australia, Philippines, Germany, Ireland. We got so many messages of people saying, thank you. It's exactly what we feel, but we couldn't convey. And when I saw the final piece, I got emotional myself.
Speaking of emotional, when you look at the sculpture, there's a tear on the cheek of the healthcare worker. Tell us the story behind that. I know it wasn't originally planned, was it?
No, it was
I'll let you
not.
take
I was helping John pounding and mudding up some part of the sculpture, and some mud with water ended up as a splash on a covering mask of the nurse or doctor the sculpture represent. And John was almost ready to brush it out, and I was looking at the piece with a different eye, and I thought she was crying. So I said to John, don't touch the splash. It looks like she's really taking care, or he's really taking care of this world. And it would be a shame if you erase it, because it's like people feel these days. So we left it.
It's been there for, 3-4 days now. It's crazy.
So John, you were telling me earlier that you've been asked to do a permanent sculpture based on what you did in the sand. What are the plans for that, and how would you do that?
Yeah, as Laura said, we're getting messages from all around the world, and I'm trying to read them all. A lot of family members, healthcare people, have family members, even the shoppers and people who clean,
First responders.
It's hard to, to get everyone in the sculpture, but yeah, one person said, or actually a few of them said that, why don't you make this permanent? I get it a lot when I do sand sculptures. People are, oh, it's going to be wrecked. Oh, won't that kill you? And, I'm happy with a photograph, but some people say, oh, I wish we could move it and, somehow seal it and move it. And
Keep it.
I said, sand sculptures can't be moved. It's the part of the element of sand. It doesn't stick together when you move it. So, but I do stone carving, okay? I do a lot of marble carving. And I've had these 2 big pieces in my yard that I've been looking at. What am I, 63 years old now, babe?
Not
Somewhere around there. And I feel like I'm getting too old to be carving such a big stone. And I've been devising a system to lift these stones up. It's 4.2 tons. Each one of these pieces weigh. They're from pillars from a bank demolition in Atlantic City. And so I devised a system to set them up, but I haven't done it yet. But I'm thinking to take this advice from the viewers on the internet to make this piece a permanent piece by carving it in a piece of Vermont marble, white marble, and maybe placing it at a hospital, you know, when the dust settles around here, and we're grateful to all the, you know, people involved in getting rid of this scourge that's come around our neighborhoods and cities and countries.
Not to forget.
And not to forget what these people went through to make us healthy again.
I honestly think it's going to happen, John. I really do. There's going to be a need for that kind of art. And it is a beautiful piece. Let's talk about something else for a minute. A few years ago, you and Laura put together the World Championship of Sand Sculpting in Atlantic City. And you brought in sand sculptors from all over the world. And it was just an amazing event that drew huge crowds. And I know that's something you would like to do again. And I think, personally, I think the area could use it. Once we get through what's going on now, I think something like that could be a breath of fresh air. So do you and Laura have plans to try to bring that back again?
You want to take that, or you want me to?
You know all the connections.
No, we did it in 2013, 2014. We ran the World Championships, as you say. In the second year, we had 160,000 people through that sculpture field, or really a sculpture garden on the beach. And the people loved it. I mean, it's a family-oriented event, something that, as you say, that we just need in Atlantic City, especially after this happens. So, you know, I've been knocking on doors since 2014. And, you know, as you know, there's financial problems around the area. And, you know, it takes a lot of money to put on this event. We brought in 20 sculptors from around the world. And put them in a hotel and fed them and then gave them prize money. You know, they don't work for free. And it all adds up to quite a bill. And again, if we could raise some funding to bring every time I see them on the road, I go to their events around the world, and they all want to come back to Atlantic City.
Yeah.
They love their time here. And Laura did a great job. You have anything to add there? She was my co-producer of the event. And,
Well, it was great to have them here. I mean, they enjoyed the shore. They enjoyed the people. It's a Atlantic City. It's a location that should also focus the attention on family and kids. So, you know, sand sculptor is liked by little kids and to their grandparents. So anyone is invited. Everybody is enjoying it. They like to vote. People like to vote. They like to be part of it. They like to go to an event when it is a tradition too. Like if it is an annual event, they take their time to go because they want to see what's next, what's new, if they can see their favorite sculptors. Or, you know, there are bonds that are created through arts and connect to the world.
One thing I'd like to add to that, Bill, is AEC Alliance, which was the sole sponsor of that event, they had money, they had funding from the state to put on such an event. All events around the world, with the exception of Atlantic City, you pay admission to go to these events. May it be $5, $8, maybe even upwards of $10 to get into this, to see these sculptures.
It's a museum.
And it's wonderful work that, you know, money is raised at the gate is what I'm trying to say. And Atlantic City did not want to do it because they wanted a free event. They had the funding to do it, which was fine with me. But I've seen, you know, some events have grown to start free and then they go to a paid gate and then you hear an uproar from the community. But I think if this is going to come back to Atlantic City, we're going to have to pay an admission. Of course, children would be free, you know, veterans would be free. I don't know, maybe
handicap.
Yeah, handicap,
Free.
whatever. But, you know, there are exceptions. There's family group rates. But you know, in the short, I think we need to pay admission to see this artwork and get funding from outside sources, you know, with sponsorships, and to make this thing really to come across as a world-class event. It needs good funding, but hopefully we can pull it off, Bill.
I can tell you on behalf of ArtC, we really enjoyed doing the documentary about it, and that has been one of our most successful documentaries to date. The response to it has been tremendous.
You and Frank, I don't know Frank's
amazing
last
job.
name, but you and Frank put on a wonderful video of that. Award-winning, by the way, yes. And it was great. We watch it every once in a while just
Yeah.
to bring back memories, but you guys did a wonderful job on that. I just wanted to say that.
I appreciate that, John. Is there anything else you and Laura would like to add before we end the show?
Well, no, maybe just I wish people here were more aware of the danger of this virus, and they should be listening to the instructions, because it doesn't make any discount to anybody. I mean, it's really a scary moment for the whole humanity, I can say, and it doesn't have to be underestimated.
I totally agree, and I've been telling everybody the same thing. So we're going to end this show, actually. The last part of this will be Ludovico's video that he did, which is a very good video about you making that sand sculpture that we've been talking about. So I just want to say this has been ArtC. I'm Bill Horn. Thanks for watching.